Hello, my name is Chase Pirtle, and I manage the Ashton Biological Preserve. I also I co-founded the Rattlesnake Conservancy. We're based out of Jacksonville. I've been into animals ever since I was a little kid. I volunteered at a wolf sanctuary out in Colorado. I graduated my high school program called Animal Technology Program. It was a 4-year program, and then I graduated at the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo, and also the assistant curator of the Santa Fe Teaching Zoo for a couple of years. So, and then president of the Gainesville Herpetological Society as well. So I've been ingrained in the animal world forever. I chose Ashton when I first got here. It was on its last leg, and they were planning on shutting down. And I spoke with Pat, and she got me was able to let me get the ball rolling again, and it's been incredible the past decade. People coming out of the woodwork, getting this place back up and functional. Welcome for the tour. So this is a coach whip, and it is the fastest snake in Florida. They've kind of evolved. We have the race runner. It's a lizard in the sandhills, and they max out at, it's the 5th fastest lizard in the world, and they max out at 18 miles per hour, and the coach whips love to hunt those guys. And when I'm running full blast, I can't even catch these guys in the field. They're so fast. So yeah, once again, coach whip, and they're black the first half of their body, and then when you get to the back half, they have a brown coloration to them, and they have really cool scales. They almost look like prehistoric.
And they live here?
Yep. They're endemic to the sandhills. You really don't find them anywhere but the sandhills. Wrap around the cord. And right here we're standing in an oak hammock. You can see behind me, it's not out in the open, it's very shaded. I love oak hammocks. It's become very popular for the state entities to tear down oak hammocks because they're not expensive as a pine tree. So if I were to tear down this oak hammock and put maybe 6,000 pines in there, I could in probably 20-30 years walk away with $80,000-$100,000. But they serve a huge significance to the ecosystem and the wildlife, and the reason being is that it's fire resistant. The leaves have a waxy coating, so when they fall to the ground, when we run fire through the field, it hits the oak hammocks. It's almost stopped dead in its tracks. If we don't have rain for a little bit, it will creep in the oak hammock a little bit, but when we burn, a lot of your prey items, your small mammals, reptiles, will come in the oak hammocks to gain cover until the new growth occurs, and they can mosey back out in the field with cover for protection and everything else. Also, when weather comes through, we just had Hurricane Helene come through, which was pretty powerful. A lot of the animals will gain refuge in the oak hammocks because, once again, it has a closed canopy. It's protection from rain. If you have a thick oak hammock, it's protection from wind. It's kind of a safe area for the animals to lay their heads. They also don't, you will see some oaks that limbs come down and that are upturned, but when you have an oak hammock, all the root systems are intertwined. It's kind of like a spider web under the ground, and they hold each other in place, so you don't get a lot of tree fall within the oak hammocks, and that way the animals once again can elude some storms in that manner. Also, in the winter months, the leaf litter, since it doesn't burn, it'll get about a foot and a half deep sometimes, and a lot of your insects, small mammals, will hibernate in the leaf litter or go into a brumation in the leaf litter during the winter months as well. So, and then when it's hot outside in the blistering sun, the oak hammocks can be like 10 to 15 degrees cooler than it is out in the blistering sun as well, and a lot of animals will come in the oak hammocks to gain refuge. In the summer months, if I'm looking for snakes in the heat of the day, I come to the oak hammocks because once again, they're not always in here, but as a place for them to get away from the heat. So this is an eastern indigo snake. It's 3 years old, and this is the largest snake in North America, and they are disappearing very quickly from Florida. On the preserve, I was seeing about 3 to 5 a year from 2013 to 2018, and I have not seen one since 2018, nor the other neighbors. So as years go by and we just continue not to see these guys, then we will consider them extinct from the ridge. And it was sad because historically there were a lot of these guys in Florida. They were widespread. They're snake eaters. They eat a lot of venomous snakes as well. And them, as well as the king snakes, are some of the species that are rapidly disappearing from our ecosystems. If you want to come this way, I want to talk to you about some sandhills. So if you notice right here, here's some wiregrass, and this is essential to sandhill habitat. You would think wiregrass, a lot of animals eat it. Not true at all. It doesn't have great nutrients. A lot of the animals will only eat this if we run fire, and it's some of the new growth that comes up. but it's essential for cover for animals. If you have the wiregrass like this, the animals going underneath it gain a lot of cover. It's harder for the predators to see them versus your pasteurized grass, what makes up the majority of Florida today. And then see how this is not seeding right here? It's because it hasn't had fire in a while, and I burnt this piece in little portions. And if you come this way, some little Florida rosemaries. And people cook with this as well. So this is pawpaw right here, and it's a great plant. A lot of animals will eat on it, and I'm sure everybody heard of the pawpaw fruit, but it's literally when they fruit, it's a race from the wildlife to us to see who gets to the fruit first. But it's delicious, absolutely delicious fruit. This is blackberry. It's also known as rupus. And these produce a blackberry, and when we're on fire as well as wet seasons, we have a good harvest. And if we harvest a little bit of it, and that way we make sure there's enough for the wildlife, it has a great defense mechanism. You see all those thorns right there? So when animals try to feed on that, they can only do it for a limited time period before their tongue, their mouth gets a little sore. They have to retreat to another plant. Also, it creates great cover for juvenile animals such as gopher tortoises. A lot of the hatchlings will come in thick vegetation like this, and that way birds of prey and other predators have a hard time getting them because there's a natural defense system. So this is sandhill habitat here, and it's pretty much pristine. This is, the Brooksville Ridge is considered some of the best sandhill habitat. We're at the Ashton Biological Preserve, some of the best sandhill habitat in north central Florida. And for right here, we have dog fennel. This is a great species because it creates cover for a lot of wildlife, and you'll also have like a lot of praying mantis and other species sitting on this, kind of blending in, hunting other species. And then if you come to the terrestrial ground level right here, this is milk pea. And this is a great food source. A lot of gopher tortoises eat this, and deer will consume this, but I see tortoises munching on this stuff a lot. And right here we have turkey oak, and as you can see, the leaves are starting to die. They'll probably fall off here within the next couple weeks, and then in the spring the growth will occur. And it's incredible when you see the turkey oaks, and they're about this big, and then in a week they're this big, just how fast that growth occurs. And then right here we have wiregrass. And as you can see, this, once again, animals don't necessarily feed on, but it creates great cover for little tortoises, little snakes, lizards moving across the ground. If they're in pasteurized grass, a lot of birds of prey, terrestrial predators will get them. But in this grass species, they stay covered. And also when you run fire from April to usually June, it seeds. So back here I ran fire. And as you can see, look at the difference from that one to this one right here. And this is when the wiregrass is seeding out. And you can just see how what a difference it is between that and this right here. And if you don't run fire in the April and June, you will not get the seeding. That's what happened to a lot of Florida, is once the deforestation occurred, we set up like road systems, and you had a lot of fire barriers that didn't run. We took away a lot of the fuel load, and then you didn't have, we weren't knowledgeable, and you didn't have like the proper management that we have today, as in running fire during certain time periods, as in knowing plants behavior. And now that we have a lot of information, we can better manage and get these ecosystems rebounded. So this is we're on a ridge on the sandhill right now, and as you can see, we have the longleaf pines. These trees are really incredible. Their lifespan's about 550 years. You'll never see them that big because we usually harvest them, and they're the icon for the southern tree almost. They also, they can stay in the grass state 5 years, and they have a lot of surface area. And surface area is key to habitat. So the bigger the pine tree is, the more insects that can inhabit the pine tree, the more time it takes a bird to forage on the pine tree. And so when you have the more surface area you have in a habitat, the more functional that habitat's gonna be. And that goes for sandhill as well. And these longleaf pine trees, once again, it's called the longleaf pine ecosystem. You have 97% destruction already of the sand pine ecosystem, or the longleaf pine ecosystem. And so rebounding this tree is one thing that we're trying to do right now. Once again, from slash pine, Virginia pine, loblolly pine, they grow faster than the longleaf pine. So by putting the longleaf pine and restoring them all over the place, we're getting it back to a natural state. And then over here we have a gopher tortoise burrow. And once again, these guys are a keystone species. Keystone Species is a species that's very important, crucial to an environment. And these guys are the poster child for Keystone Species. Up to date, there's 427 species recorded utilizing the burrow. Animals use them for hunting, raising offspring, hibernation, eluding predators, eluding forest fire, flooding, you name it. And they, in the sandhills, they go down about 40 to 45 feet in depth. I always joke with folks saying that if we get nuked, I'm shoving myself down a gopher burrow, you know? So there's your joke.
You're passionate about uplands.
Oh man, the diversity. When I first came to Florida, I never really experienced Florida for about, I'd say, 7 years of me being here. When I came to the preserve and experienced this sandhill habitat, it was like the first time I actually was in Florida. And when I started seeing all the species diversity, the rattlesnakes, the indigos, the coach whips, birds, mammals, insects, it stole my heart. I originally wanted to go back out to California. I love the mountains. But when I came here and saw the diversity, the symbiotic relationships amongst animals, especially the gopher tortoise, which is a keystone species, and how many animals utilize the burrow, it once again, it stole my heart, and I fell in love with the ecosystem. I fell in love with the animals, and I knew it was going to be a life mission of mine to protect this habitat. And here we have our endemic growth. There's wiregrass, some green sumac coming up. There's some turkey oak saplings. We have longleaf pine saplings in there, and that's the difference between the Bahia grass and the endemic environment. It's a lot more, animals have more cover in this stuff than they do the Bahia grass, and a lot more survival. So elevation does a lot. You have different species that inhabit different elevations. You also have different plants that inhabit different elevations. You have different temperatures. If you're on the lowlands, it can stay a little bit cooler than up in the sandhills. So elevation has a lot to do with a lot of things. Even hibernation from an animal being active to inactive, or elevation comes in. Now we're going down the we're going down the sandhill to the wetlands, and you can see the decline. Now we're getting into turtle habitat instead of gopher tortoise habitat. Wetlands are part of the natural part of the sandhills. So we actually have a lot of water around our sandhill here in different watering spots, and this is a part of Barrel Pond. And on the other side of that ridge over there, you have Watermelon Pond, and it's a big, tourist attraction. It's a big pond for Alachua County, and you have a lot of alligators in this pond, and then and you have a lot of you have a lot more functionality than you do your little ponds as well. I trapped for snakes, and I got 22 swamp snakes in here in 2 weeks, and I trapped on the ponds on the ridge, and I didn't get one. And that just tells you diversity of a 3-minute drive. So this is another pond we have on property. It's behind the lab. We just call it the lab pond. And there's a natural spring attached to this one, which is really, really neat. This one does have some mosquito fish in it, so it doesn't have the diversity that the other one has, but it still has a lot of diversity in it. And as you can see over here, all the sand after we got the hurricane has rushed down from the ridge. And if you can see, the water is still flowing down from the spring. And the spring is tucked right up there in the vegetation. And we have, because it's a spring, it's always wet, we have some different plants inhabiting this ecosystem. If you look down here, it's incredible pink sundew. And you can see here's a great specimen right there. And that is a carnivorous plant, which means that it eats insects. One of the things we do is have some endemic as well as a couple exotic turtle species, tortoise species, but this is a Florida box turtle right here. And we have a little neat history. This is not the guy, he's actually in this enclosure, but David Attenborough came up here in 2004 to film Life in Cold Blood. It's a 5-episode miniseries on reptiles. It's one of the better ones out there. And the 5th episode, Armor Giants, a lot of that was filmed here at Ashton. And this is Little Dave, but we still have the box turtle that David Attenborough used in Life in Cold Blood, and we named him Sir David. So, but this species we don't actually find in the sandhills too much because they're more of an aquatic species. Not like a turtle necessarily, but they like wet habitat. So they're in the swamps, flat woods, but they're not really in the sandhills too much. But once again, this is a Florida native species, and that's a very important species for Florida as well. So these are radiated tortoises. They love being scratched, as you can see. And I like to tell people we do about 90% endemic conservation work and about 10% global conservation work. These are radiated tortoises, endemic to Madagascar. They call them radiated because of the sun pattern on the back and the yellow coloration of their skin. They love their necks being rubbed too. And they're critically endangered. We're breeding them better than anybody in the world right now. And we work with a program called Stud Books that tracks genetics. And we're dispersing genetics around the United States to get the gene pool in a better state than it is. And a lot of species in the world, I think it's 70% are bottlenecked, which means, you know, their genetics are pretty limited, either due to overhunting historically, other pressures. And once a species get bottlenecked, it's hard to get reintroduction to the wild, the whole 9 yards. You want to pet it again? See if he'll shake again. There we go. Madagascar has also lost about 98% of their woods as well. So right now there's really no place to put these guys, but there's corridor systems being set up that connect some of the wild areas. And once those corridor systems are established, then we can put some of these guys back out in the wild. So. This is an eastern diamondback, and they're native to the ridge here. This is the largest not venomous snake in the world, but rattlesnake in the world. And they max out at about 7 feet, 7, potentially 8, but it's a rarity. And every time they shed, they grow a new button. It's a lot of myth that you can tell the age of a rattlesnake for how many buttons they have, and you can't. It's myth. And I have my venomous license. So I'm allowed to have these guys, and I have my display as well. So with these guys, I do a lot of education with the public. I also train military and first responders how to work around them as well. And we created, with the Rattlesnake Conservancy, we created the first venomous workshops in the United States, and they're very professional, very safe, and it was a huge success. So once again, a lot of first responders take it, a lot of military individuals will contract us, or institutions, as well as zoos and first responders. So this one right here is gravid. She's about to have babies, coming into a neighborhood near you. No, just kidding. Yeah, but this one's gravid, so you can tell how she's a lot more thick, and the girth on her is a lot more. And once again, she's only about 4.5 feet, and they can get up to, once again, 7, 8 feet. So imagine this thing that has another 3 feet on it. Well, folks, I appreciate you tagging along for the tour today. We learned about oak hammocks, we learned about scrub, we learned about aquatic systems that inhabit the sand ridge here on the Brooksville Ridge, and then we learned about our captive tortoises, gopher tortoises. We brought out the rattlesnakes for some venomous snakes, and some of the educational programs we do. We also went over fire and some of the various plants we have around here as well. Florida has many, many different ecosystems. This is just one out of many, and Florida's an incredible place. A few impactful things people can do to support conservation, Florida's conservation, is simply educating yourself. A lot of people are not aware about the animals, or plant to animal species inhabiting their backyard, and once you get knowledgeable about those, you can manage for those and help those species. And so a lot of individuals have endangered species on their property, or they're in range of endangered species, whether it be butterflies to reptile, and they can go strides for managing their property in a way that works for those animals. Also, being active, getting involved, whether it's volunteering, donating to a facility, a conservation organization. A lot of your organizations get no support from state or government, and even $5 goes a long way. And it's not just financially, but also morally for the individuals that are doing conservation. So getting involved. And I would say another thing too is being proactive and speaking out against, for instance, a big thing that happened recently was when the people found out about the golf courses and the cricket ball facilities that they were going to put on state parks, and there was a public outrage, and they stopped it. And if nobody would have said anything, we would have lost a lot more habitat due to more golf courses inhabiting Florida for an ecotourism value versus a functionality value. And so if people speak up, they write their senators, write their governors, local politicians, go to meetings, and that can go strides as well.
Hi, how are you doing today, folks? My name is Shane Odd. I came to the Ashton Biological Preserve several years ago. It's been a life-changing experience for me. It's opened brand new doors, things I never thought I would experience in my life. It's a wonderful facility. The animals that are here are amazing. Like I said, it's life-changing, and it has really helped me in a lot of directions I've moved in life. The message I have for people watching this video: you have to get out there and get involved in conservation. You have to do your part. You have to do even to the smallest thing. It could be something as small as a moth being in your house, putting it in a cup, putting it back outside. Our ecosystem is so fragile right now. It's to that degree. So please, everyone, just do your part. Thank you so much.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead.